Hi, I'm Donna Williams, and I'm going to read you part 7 of the book Nobody Nowhere. When I was 6, my little brother was born. Tom was unexpected in view of the fact that it was thought my mother could have no more children. And although I avoided looking at other people, by the time I was 7, 8, 9 years old, I'd look into his baby eyes with no resistance. I'd talk at him, do magic tricks, and try to teach him how to walk. I felt he was on my side, and given his behaviour, perhaps I sensed something. Tom was a headbanger, and his only solace seemed to be banging his head against the wall. When he wasn't doing this, he was tearing around the house like a miniature tornado. By the time he was 2, he could dismantle and demolish anything he laid his hands on at speed. Tom liked the games we played, spinning round and round, falling to the ground and watching the world spin. He loved jumping with me on every bed in the house. Sometimes we would lie down head first and come thumping down the stairs on our heads, hitting every step upside down until we crashed at the bottom. We'd play with his blocks, separating out all the letters into their categories. Tom loved jigsaw puzzles. He progressed quickly through them until he was able to do adult ones by the time he was 4. He spoke freely from an early age, though he spoke in a strange pronunciation, a strange accent, things like Barku, Brennan, and everyone was boy. I was Dar boy, and my father was Archie boy. Though we were Australian, my little brother always sounded like a Scotsman who'd just got off the boat. At 2, he was seen by a psychiatrist. The creches had refused to keep him, as he was too much to handle. Like me, Tom took to music like a maestro and almost compulsively could teach himself anything to perfection. Though he couldn't be taught, I thank God for Tom. He escaped a lot of the abuse and the name-calling, but he moved in my world. I was 7 when we moved to the big house. It was like a haunted house when we moved in. The previous occupant had died. And at the new house, Tom became haunted by these 2 friends, which terrified him. There was Mr. Leg and the Big Hands, which we later learned was the Big Hands. Although my little brother was my best friend, not even he had the right to trespass or touch anything near my room, and he had to pass the stairs to go off to the bathroom, and his fear of the stairs made it nearly impossible. My mother turned this, her new prison, into a doll's house. I lived in the attic, and after the first few weeks in that house, I climbed out onto the roof, and so they put bars on the front window. It seemed I was to become the loony now who lived in the attic. I certainly acted like one. I struggled year after year with trying to join the world and finding myself compelled back into the withdrawal of my own. It was a battle to join the world and a battle to keep the world out. And I'd stand at the window, my face pushed into the bars, dropping objects to freedom, and distraught if they landed in the guttering. And yet I was glad because now no one would see them and no one would know how I felt. And that summed up the dilemma, really. Everything was this double bind. Around this time, I was again tested for partial deafness. Because even though I could self-chatter, I didn't use this as language in the same way as other people. And so I often got no meaning out of what was being said to me. Although words were symbols, it was also misleading to say I didn't understand symbols. I had a whole system of relating which I considered my language. It was as though other people didn't understand the symbolism that I used, and there was no way that I could or was going to tell them what I meant. I developed this language of my own, and everything I did from holding 2 fingers together to scrunching up my toes had a meaning, usually to do with reassuring myself that I was in control and that no one could reach me wherever the hell I was. Sometimes it had to do with telling people how I felt, but usually it was so subtle and often went unnoticed, or it was simply taken to be some new quirk that Mad Donna had thought up.